The most challenging part about racing RedBud, usually the roughness. That track it's pretty brutal. So I grew up racing there, kind of have the lay of the land, and it just gets really gnarly, and you kind of have to pick and choose your lines. And you also have the Rocco's Leap, which is probably the most fun jump on the circuit when you're able to do it. Last year we had some problems in the 450 getting over it, but super fun jump, great atmosphere, a lot of fans there, so it's a cool race.
The most challenging part of racing RedBud would probably be making the Rocco's Leap every single lap. They've been changing it before coming up to La Rocco's Leap, so depending on what the turn gives us, but with it being ripped so deep and having an off-camber turn, you gotta hit everything just perfect to be able to jump it, so there's a lot of time you can lose in a small part of the track.
Motocross is back this weekend, and what a weekend it's going to be. This is the big one, the centerpiece, the crown jewel, the July 4th celebration for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross at RedBud. We'll talk about riders, teams, strategies, championships in a moment, but Jason Wygant, Ricky Carmichael, and Will Christian, first thing we have to talk about is the fans at RedBud. We'll go to you first. Goat, Ricky, RedBud. There's no experience quite like it.
Oh, it's the most epic crowd. You think about the podiums there at RedBud. Will and I was talking this off air. It's just incredible. 4th of July weekend, a staple event. Motocross of Nations is going to be there this year as well, and it's a spectacle. It really is this experience. True hardcore fans, the promoters, the Richies, are one of the best promoters in motocross racing. Hands down, they do an incredible job, and I am really excited to get there. And as a racer, I definitely think in the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, people ask, what race do you want to win? Got to be RedBud at the top of the list.
Yeah, when you get greeted at the podium. Now, look, a lot of big races have big podium celebrations, but the unique thing about motocross is how close the fans can get. Like, they can literally get in the champagne celebration. The riders go right to the fence. Will, you're down there every year. It's unbelievable, the RedBud podium.
It is, and I think we're just going to be really good this year too, because the fans have missed out a little bit, on the last couple of years, obviously due to the pandemic, and we've seen the fans really respond to being able to be back at all the other rounds. So RedBud, with how it normally is, if you take a normal RedBud and then amp that up a little bit, I'm not even sure what we should be trying to expect here this weekend, but it's going to be good. They're right there. They love their racing. Anyone who wins it, it's a shot in the arm for everybody as we move on through the rest of the season, because they've got everyone behind them. They're screaming, they're shouting, and they're wanting more.
Yeah, motocross is one of the most taxing, physically demanding sports there is. But Ricky, I can't imagine, no matter how tired and exhausted you are on a hot, rough 1+ hour of racing throughout the day, you can't feel down once you're on that podium. You can't feel tired.
No, there's no shot about that, because it's just so electric. You get out there, the place is going crazy. There's air horns happening, and it is one of the most coveted podiums ever in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. I mean, it's one of the, people ask me often, it's like, man, what do you miss about racing? And when I think about RedBud, not only is the track is just awesome and one of the best tracks, just because it's multi-groove, there's so many different lines you can take, a million passing opportunities, the jumps are epic, you got the La Rocco's Leap, but just that podium, and it makes it so special. And that is one of the things that I truly miss about racing and being retired from racing.
So we'll try to bring the fans a little extra show, because the racing this year, especially in the 450 class, and we'll have the final 450 moto of the day at 3 Eastern on NBC Live. The racing has been unbelievable. We leave off at High Point. We're up to 4 or 5 rider battles down to the checkers. And Ricky, we've talked about it all year. It's this clash of eras. The young Chase Sexton trying to rip the title away from experienced veterans like Ken Roczen, Eli Tomac, Jason Anderson's in there. And it keeps getting better each week. It normally goes the other way. It's amazing.
Well, it is. And so what the things that are on my radar this weekend for RedBud are a few things. For the 450 classes, the consistency of Chase Sexton, Eli Tomac, Ken Roczen, and then Jason Anderson. Can Jason Anderson go put in 2 solid motos? It's starting to fall back in points just a little bit. And in my opinion, this is a critical point of the championship. You can't be too far behind the mark off that championship position, because these guys like Chase Sexton, Eli Tomac, they start getting in a rhythm, and they're hard to beat latter part of the season because they know the title implications. And then the other thing that I can't wait to watch for the 450 is Ryan Dungey going to continue that trend of how well he raced at Mount Mort. For an out-on situation, I think Ryan Dungey has the ability to learn that speed. So now he's had a weekend off, 2 weeks of preparation during the week to work on that. He is so good mentally of following someone, learning that speed, making the adjustments, and then moving forward from that. So those are the two questions: the consistency, and can Ryan Dungey continue that trend of running up front with the front runners?
Yeah, for Chase Sexton, who continues to lead the points, and he's done it since winning round one, that has always been the question. He's been fast since the moment he got on a 450. Can he be consistent enough? But Will, if we actually look at the numbers, he's finished first or second in every moto this year except one, and that was only a fourth. So although he's not won a race since the opener, he is kind of proving that point. But Tomac keeps getting better every week. So this is an interesting clash coming up here, Will.
And it's interesting to look at the start of their season. Here we are, a third of the way through. Ricky alluded to it. We've had a break, so it's a chance for everybody to just have a little bit of a reset. Those perhaps who haven't quite felt comfortable on their bike setups, they will be able to do a little bit of testing this past weekend. So now we've got this interesting situation between, if we take our two front runners that you said there, Weege, Tomac and Sexton, and look at the way they've done this first third of the season. It's different in a lot of ways and not in others. We see them with a relatively small points gap. Both got 3 moto wins each, but we've got Eli Tomac, who's been like the picture of building in 4, 3, 2, 1 finishes, where we look how he's come to that point. And then we've got that consistency that you spoke about in Chase Sexton. So 2 different parts coming here. So which one right now would you be most afraid of if you were the opponent? Are you thinking, if you're Eli Tomac and you're like, wow, that consistency that we're seeing out of Chase, that's going to be tough to break? Or if you're Chase Sexton and you're looking at Tomac going, uh-oh, here he comes. First overall win there. The last weekend that we raced there, and we've seen him come through the pack and do very classic Eli Tomac things. And of course, every single race that he's at this season is the first time that he's done it with Star Racing there in the Yamaha team. So he's just somewhat of a learning machine at the moment. Here we are, right? This is a tipping point. Ricky said it.
Yeah.
Now we're going to look at this and go, who's going to take a grass? Who's going to take this, perhaps their second overall win here, and start the trend that may be the rest of the season?
Yeah, that's what makes it interesting, right? Because for Sexton, okay, I'm sure he's not happy when Tomac gets a moto win on him, but RC, you always talk about the big picture, the long game, managing a title. Sexton has to also avoid the horrible finish, the big crash, the 0-point score, and not just get hung up on individual motos. It's tough to balance those two things. You've talked about it a million times.
Yep, 100%. And he's learning as he goes. He's certainly made huge improvements. You think about it, just a small amount of time that he's been on that 450 class, or 450 machine. So Eli Tomac is catching fire at the perfect time towards the middle of the series. And then later on, you can only assume he's going to continue to get better, barring no issues. If you're Chase Sexton, it puts him in the position too, where he has to perform. And I think that each weekend that goes by, that he keeps being consistent. And I think he's going to keep running up there, because now he knows what he needs to do and he knows how to do it. He did a lot of that in the 250 class if you go back and you look at his career as a 250 rider. So I think he has the ability to do that. Certainly not going to be easy. And then you have guys like Ken Roczen. He's still lingering in there. He's 13, 15 points behind, 18 maybe. So he's right there. So you got to manage those guys as well if you're Chase Sexton. And you got to just go down fighting. That's what it's going to come down to.
It's fantastic to have that many contenders in this class halfway through the year. Real quick, we'll touch on the 250 division. You can watch that coverage on MAV TV every weekend live. This is unprecedented. We have 2 teammates, 2 brothers who have pulled well ahead of the field. They've been 1-2 in almost every moto this year. And Will, it ended with an epic one-on-one duel between them. They passed each other about 5 times. Final margin of victory, a half second after 35 minutes of racing. We've never seen anything like it. 2 brothers, and we're waiting for the intensity to lead to tension. So far, so good between the Lawrences.
It was a little bit different though, wasn't it? Last time we saw a race after, you see, try to read their body language as we do so much, and you could see, Jet was the one, right, who finally got it done. We've been waiting for that kind of a battle all season long. And then, you try to read Hunter's face, and you could see there's frustration there. Obviously, Ricky, Johnny O'Mara very well. He mentors and trains both these guys. It must be so tough for him, so tough for the rest of the Honda HRC team to try and balance these guys. but we know they've got a wonderful relationship. I'm curious what you think, Ricky, as far as like, is this dynamic between them going to change, or are they brothers and that's the strongest thing here and competing?
Well, and that's a great question. So I had an opportunity to talk to Johnny O'Mara, and most everyone knows that he coaches Jet and Hunter. And I think the tricky part and challenging part for Johnny and what he needs to do, and this is where he's going to work his magic, is how does he get Hunter to that next level, right? How does he get Hunter to be able to perform week in, week out and challenge his brother and actually beat his brother? I'm glad I'm not Johnny O'Mara when it comes to this challenge. However, he's the guy that's going to be able to put Hunter in that position. So I think Hunter's going to continue to get better. And if you're Hunter Lawrence, like I was telling Johnny and Mike, you just have to find a way to get Hunter to keep being strong, consistent, get good starts, and put that pressure on his little brother Jet, and force Jet into a mistake. I think that's what you have to do, because I don't think he's ever going to be faster than Jet straight up. I think they're going to match each other's speed. So it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, who makes least amount of mistakes. Who's the guy that's going to be able to start up front earlier, right? All the time, or more consistent. Who's the guy that's not going to lay it down? Who's the guy that's going to be able to come through the pack if they get a bad start? And then I think that's Johnny's challenge for Hunter. But at the end of the day, it's family. Blood is thicker than water, so it's a fine line. And like I said, I'm glad I'm not in Johnny's position. But nevertheless, I think it's a lot of fun for us to watch. And I think does Hunter want to win? Of course he does. But at the big picture, we always talk about big picture. Going back to Mount Morris, I think that there was nothing gained and certainly nothing lost. So